I would say the thing that bothers me the most is all the fear that's being instilled. And it's usually just to sell us on something. And so I feel like that's within the agent community. And people are trying to instill all this fear and then trying to say, well, if you comment here for my many chat to be able to send you our toolkit, and we'll send you the link and you can pay for it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Walkthrough Podcast here on BAM. My name is Dan O'Neill, coming to you live from New York, and today joining me, as always, unfortunately, is my co-host, Mr. Eric the Broke Agent Simon. Fortunately, we also have returning guest, Miss Clippet herself, who literally flew back from Europe just to make the show, Miss Tessabella, and for the first time ever, not sure what took you so long or why we waited so long, but Mr. Andy G. We have an amazing show for you today, and we are talking about mistakes that agents make on Instagram and what annoys us. So this is going to be a 3-hour episode, just about what annoys me about Eric, how to go viral, and what is working in our marketing, and much, much more. Make sure to throw us a like. Make sure to throw us a comment. I tried to have my mic work this week, and I don't know what's going on. Shout out to my mother, and let's get to it. Mr. Eric. What are the mistakes that agents make on Instagram, and what annoys you aside from the habitual mic issues that I have?
Nothing annoys me more than that, but it's okay. We are going to power through it because we have an electric panel today. We do have Mrs. Clickstein, I would say. I am Dr. Clickstein. Tessa, that does not make us in a holy union, but you are on the other side of that. And we do have Andy G, who always looks fresh, my fellow Jewish brother here. All right, so we're going to get into this. We have the biggest mistakes agents are making on Instagram. I've been doing a ton of Instagram audits because I'm just trying to grow the email list. So I'm like, hey, let's do some Instagram audits. And I am basically working my ass off for this company to collect emails. And in doing so, I think Andy G was on one of these calls. I found some of the biggest mistakes that agents are making in their bio. Haley, if you want to pull up Dan O'Neill's profile as an example, actually, I will show some mistakes. The number one mistake. No. Don't interrupt. Just let me get to this right here. Okay. The number one mistake that I see agents make is in their at where it says Dan O'Neill. That's fine. But then you have the display name right below where it says Dan O'Neill. This is the name that pops up during direct messages. Notice that he does not have that he is a realtor in that, or he does not have his location, which would be Long Island, New York. So the only two things that are SEO searchable on your Instagram profile, besides when you actually post something, is your handle. So the at Dan O'Neill or at the Broke Agent or at Tessabella or at Andy G. And then the username, the display name right below. So that should say Dan O'Neill, Long Island Realtor. So that way, when somebody is searching on Instagram, they could actually search Long Island Real Estate and then Danny Deals would pop up. So there's a little advice for you. Dan, let me just get through this and then I'll get to your question. Another thing that I noticed a lot of agents do is they have their threads thing still, just like Dan does right here. This could be a potential mistake because maybe people are clicking on the threads thing, aka going away from your bio. I don't know if you need that anymore. Your threads content already pops up in the Instagram feed. I would get rid of that. And then the final mistake I see agents making in their bio is that they have no call to action to their link. They just have a link tree. Dan, do you even have a link on this? I don't see one. There should be some sort of call to action that says, watch my newest blog, book an appointment with me, something along those lines. Other than that, Dan has an amazing profile, great content, but those are the mistakes agents I see are making on Instagram. Haley, if you could just pull up the search bar, type in Andy. Andy, what's your Instagram handle again?
Into a firestorm here. It's Andy G Realtor.
Andy G Realtor. Look at this. This is perfect. Andy_Realtor. So he's already searchable. He has Andy Greisinger Realtor. But you know what you don't have, Andy? You don't have the location that should say NC and SC broker right there in the display name as well. That way you will be searchable. So if you're watching this at home, make sure that you make either your handle, your username, or both searchable.
So time out though.
Yes.
Which would be the one that's underneath? That would be the...
That's the display name. That's the display name that pops up in DMs.
Okay. Another question, and you are 100% right with all that. So when I put New York, Florida, like realtor, I feel like that's a lot. That's a mouthful right there.
I would just put Long Island, New York real estate or Long Island, New York real estate. So that way you pop up in people's search. Probably not Florida.
Okay.
I don't know. I would just do Long Island. All right. So those are the biggest mistakes I see. Tessa, I will kick it to you. What mistakes are you seeing agents making on Instagram, or what just kind of annoys you about Dan or about agents on Instagram?
I just walked into a firestorm here. I hate the show.
I definitely have a good one, but I also want to just throw in my 2 cents real quick on the name thing, because that is one of the biggest things I used to always correct people on. Where it's changed a little bit was when they started doing the verification. You had to remove it and make it only your name. And then I think you can edit it back. But that's why I had to change mine to just Tessa Gelton, and then I haven't added something back in.
Haley, clip it.
Good point. That's a clip. Tessa, you just completely destroyed my argument. No, you are right. If you do the verification, which I'm trying to do for the broke agent, I can't even have the broke agent as my display name. I have to show Eric Simon with the verified ID.
Yeah.
So that's probably what you have to do. But like you said, you can probably switch it in the days afterwards.
Thank you. So Eric, you put Eric Simon, Brentwood, California, referral agent at Compass.
Yes, I would put top producer Eric Simon, Compass, Los Angeles, Brentwood real estate agent. Okay, Tessa, continue. What else bothers you about everything?
I mean, this could go on and on forever, but the one thing that I will throw in here is one of the biggest content adjustments that I always talk about is we're so quick to talk about things from our perspective rather than how it applies to the person viewing it, especially an ideal client or ideal follower. And a prime example of this is all of the commission changes, the NAR stuff. I can't tell you how many agents I see posting about this, but it's not in a way that's valuable to anyone else seeing it other than maybe agents. You're probably doing a good job of getting agents arguing under the post, but beyond that, it means nothing to a consumer seeing that. And if anything, I feel like it probably confuses them more and they probably scroll right past it. So that drives me crazy, is when we're posting things from the perspective of how we think about it and how we see it, rather than how our ideal client or potential follower would see it.
That's a great point. Gary Vee made a similar point, saying we're not creating content for ourselves. We're creating content for the people on the other side. And once you kind of make that brain adjustment switch, then you start really creating valuable content for the people. So,
and it's so easy when you're in the position of being in real estate. Things become so obvious to us because they're conversations we're having every single day. But you forget that a general consumer has virtually no idea about 99% of the topics that we're talking about on a daily basis. And so though it may seem low level or elementary to you as an agent and a real estate professional, a consumer it goes way over their head. And again, they are looking at every piece of content through the lens of what does this mean for me? If it doesn't apply to them directly in an instant, then I think that they could care less and you become irrelevant.
Yeah.
Also, on her point with that, I think the other thing that a lot of agents miss is that they think that the content it's too saturated. They're like, oh, everyone's talking about it on my feed. It's like, well, I bet a banker in Charlotte that I'm friends with is not following every single person on here. So who cares if everyone's talking about it on my feed? I need to make sure I'm talking about it for people who are following me.
Yes. Good point, Andy G. Andy G, what is bothering you on Instagram right now?
Well, first off, I would like to thank you for inviting me to the roast of Dan O'Neill's Instagram page.
Yes, of course.
It's an honor to be here. I would say on that note, with the NAR stuff, obviously that's the hot topic right now. I would say the thing that bothers me the most is all the fear that's being instilled. And it's usually just to sell us on something. And so I feel like that's within the agent community, and people are trying to instill all this fear and then trying to say, well, if you comment here for my ManyChat to be able to send you our toolkit, and we'll send you the link and you can pay for it. And it's just, there's a lot of that going on right now, but it's not even just, I get that there's a lot of good business going on with that. But my problem is when people are starting to confuse other agents through that, or when they're talking about state-specific things that are confusing to other agents. So sitting in North Carolina, if an agent in California or Texas posts something that is maybe very state specific and they make it sound bigger than it really is, it gets confusing. And then, a bunch of Charlotte agents start sending the DMs around and wondering what this is. And it can get it really muddies the water a lot. And so that's where something that kind of grinds my gears right now.
All right. Note to self, Haley, Tessa, Dan, we are not having Andy G back on the show because he just took a direct shot at me with the mini chats and with the fear mongering. No, we're not doing fear mongering. We're trying to help agents with scripting and everything. But
See,
that is
that's
a good
big
point.
difference. You're
That
not
is a
trying
good
to
point.
instill fear.
If
You're
agents
helping.
are talking about the settlement, like this is the doom, this is the pain, this is why you need to listen to me right now, that is definitely a bad way to go about it. Danny Deals, what is grinding your already grinded gears?
How much time do we have on the show? Are we talking about you in specific or just in general? Just kidding.
But we don't have much more time because of the mic issues at the beginning.
So I think everything that you said is correct. One thing that drives me nuts is the use of emojis in your bio. Right? You ever see like 1,000 emojis in someone's bio? It's like, you're 3 years old. Be professional. Right?
Ouch, I have a bunch of emojis in my bio.
Yeah,
it doesn't really feel like you're in a position to be commenting on anyone's bio.
All right. Danny Deal. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead, Dan.
Hey, Tessa, you know what? I'm going to keep that right here. All right. And the last thing that we did skip over is you should have your unique value prop or what separates you or what you do differently in your bio. Right. So like instead of number one, I'm guilty of it too. Tessa, if I go, actually, you already have it in here, so I'm not going to say anything. But if you go to someone's profile, right, it's like, okay, number one top producer. Like, no, like helping people buy and sell real estate effortlessly or you know, I don't know what the right word would be there. Okay. Yeah. You know, like solving people's problems. I don't know. Whatever you do, it should be in the bio of like, that's what separates you. And yeah, that was the last thing that I had. I will save the roast for all three of you until after the show.
But
Dan, go ahead,
Andy. Note, that's why I have Virginia Tech Hokie as my very first one, because it's a way to instantly build rapport with people. And I have it constantly everywhere. So that's why you see this here. That's why it's everywhere, just sprinkled in. Because I'm instantly building rapport. If someone went to Virginia Tech or is a fan of that school, as soon as they come to my Instagram profile, I instantly have a little more credibility than anyone else.
Andy, that is exactly what I was going to say. Dan, those are great points. You should have some differentiating factor in your bio that isn't just top producer, something about your personality. I actually like the emojis. I like the emojis on the left side. I think it helps separate your bio and makes it aesthetically pleasing. I have them on mine. A lot of agents have it on theirs. Otherwise, it just looks like line. So that is the retort.
Also, to tie it all together, just like Dan was saying with the like clear help statement, clear value prop in your bio, it's the same thing I was just talking about with content. Like you have to make it number one top producer does nothing for a consumer. You know, right. That really just strokes your own ego.
Yeah, because it's to Eric's point, it's like every single agent puts top producer. They sell one or two houses, they put top producer. That's where, and he's made fun of me on other podcasts for being voted Charlotte's favorite male realtor. But I like that because it's more than just a dude that sells a lot of houses or anyone else who puts top producer or can finagle numbers to show that you're number one somewhere. It's like favorite realtor. There's something different that like a different spark that puts in people's minds when they see that.
Yeah, having some accolades in your bio, I think, are, you know, how many families you've served, how long you've been in the business, how many millions of dollars of real estate you've sold. If there is a ranking, I think people actually do take that seriously other than just saying luxury broker or top producer. One other thing I found when I've been auditing people's accounts is sometimes they have the display category. So they might have entrepreneur or they might have real estate right there. I don't think you necessarily need that if you already have that in your display name. So you can go to edit profile, you can go to your category, and you can hide that because sometimes it just takes up an extra line in your bio. All right, so someone hit a telephone pole at Dan's house, apparently, and knocked out his entire power. A gift from God, they might say. And now Dan has been launched from the show temporarily, so he may come back in, he may not. But moving on to topic number 2, it is the viral formula for real estate content. This is an article here on nowbam.com from Luke Acree, and he basically talked about Chick-fil-A and said, like, you know, this is what's going on with the Chick-fil-A CEO. This is why they have such a ravenous fan base. And it was about how he got treated well at some hotel. The topic itself, or the Instagram content itself, wasn't even necessarily about Chick-fil-A. It was about how to create a really passionate fan base with your product or with your brand. But just mentioning Chick-fil-A got this guy 2 million followers, got Luke, the president of Reminder Media, 2 million views on that post, which is absolutely crazy because it was a controversial kind of topic. And there's a bunch of these, whether it's Chick-fil-A or it's politics or it's, you know, In-N-Out versus Five Guys, these kind of little touch points that you could talk about in your hooks that are kind of guaranteed fodder for the comment section. So Tessa, I'll start with you. Is there anything controversial that you recommend people talk about, or that you talk about from like a hook standpoint, that could really loop people into the audience?
Absolutely. I actually just compiled a little list of some of the ones that I've seen work the best. So maybe I'll share that with you. I'll have to unblock you first. But
Thank you.
yeah, I've always used the phrase polarity is power. So I think whenever you can be polarizing and make people choose a side, that's when you can really start to get some momentum. I think you have to play with that as you wish, because it can be, you know, damaging at the same time. So it's kind of as controversial as you want to get. But anytime you can start conversation in your comments, I think that that's really powerful. So I love to just have like a really bold statement and something that I know somebody can argue with within the first like 3 seconds. So I'd start a video with something like, buying a house for no money down is so easy if blank, 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 and then carry on to talk about maybe a loan program that's available for specific people, you know? And so in those first couple seconds, somebody hears something. A lot of times, frankly, they won't even listen to the remainder of the video. They're already in the comments arguing with somebody. And so as silly as it sounds, it does then get your video pushed out to more and more people, and it can get in front of then the right people as well. So I think it kind of depends what your outcome is. But yeah, I've loved the theme of polarity is power.
That's a great, I love polarity as power. And yes, you should unblock me. That way we could collab on a little post there. And then we could actually launch maybe those hooks together as a possible lead magnet ebook. Andy, what do you think about that? Collect those emails. Andy, do you ever post anything controversial, or do you have any hooks in mind that could polarize the audience, create a little engagement?
So that's honestly never been my style. I've always taken the Michael Jordan approach of like
Soft.
I don't care what your political beliefs are, or what the color of your skin is, or anything. Like, I want you to buy my shoes. Like, I don't care what your beliefs are. I want to be able to help you with buying or selling a house. But what I've noticed is one thing that I made a note on that went really viral is when you're bashing your own listings. The guys that walk around and they're like, look at this piece of shit. Like, here's a nice place where you're going to cook your fucking ramen. Like, how great is this? Look, a microwave. And it's like the very raw, real, authentic type of tours are pretty funny. Obviously, you'd have to get your clients to approve that. I don't think a lot of mine would be very happy with that. But having something that's against the like polarity in not necessarily the polarity is power, but almost like just going against the narrative, where everyone's so used to posting like the big sexy houses and all the multi-million-dollar listings and everything. And it's like, well, why don't you post a $300,000 house and just talk about like, here's your garage with a fucking dent in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
there's a guy named, it's Brad the Realtor. Have you seen him, Tessa? Yeah. So he's crushing it, right? Like I've seen all of his videos pop up on my feed, and he's getting thousands of likes and shares on these videos where he basically talks crap about the house itself. So that's a great point, Andy. One thing Luke said in this article that I thought was really useful is that when you get all these kind of hateful comments or people are talking about Chick-fil-A, he responds to every single one of them. And that just kind of keeps the virality of that post going. So if you have a bunch of people commenting about something, you could do that. Another really good thing that I want to bring up on the segment after this, the Marketers of the Week, if you're talking about politics, there is a good way to do it. And I will show a video from Jason Cassidy coming up. So make sure you stay tuned. Those video make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying this. And by the way, Luke Acree, he is the president of Reminder Media. And if you are an agent looking to stand out from the crowd, Reminder Media is a resource you need to check out. You get your own branded printed and digital magazines, email newsletters, social media content. Reminder delivers these resources to your contacts on autopilot, Andy, keeping you top of mind with your database. All you got to do is focus on your follow-up calls and watch referrals and repeat business come in. Use the link below to check out Reminder Media. Okay, number 3. We are going to start with just what's working in your real estate marketing. What is working for you? Andy G, I'll kick it to you. What is working best either on the Instagram feed or with your marketing efforts right now? Anything. Give us something.
So on stories, it's posting things that make you go, what the fuck? When you're on showings. If you post like the weird stuff, like I'll get the most engagement from posting the weirdest things that I'll see. Like the other day, I showed a house and they had a door to a closet. You open the door up and there's like 6 inches before drywall and an electrical panel. And it's like, this makes 0 sense. And I got like 50 DMs on it or reactions to it. So that's a good one because people are used to seeing like the glitz and the glam of real estate. And this is one of those things where you're like, what the hell? Like, people actually do this and this is real. So that's worked really well. And then for me, I always try and think of like for Instagram, the overarching theme that I have to have when I'm presenting myself to the public. And so I'm trying to make sure that I'm presented as like a fun person to be with, someone who knows a lot about Charlotte, someone who also is like selling a lot of houses. And so I breadcrumb in a lot more of the real estate stuff, whereas I like to put more out there showing that I'm out and about in town. And in a way that's showing that I have had success without crossing the line, right? There's too many people just flexing really hard. And if you're not genuine with it, people can tell and it won't work. And so if you're genuine with that and you're showing people like, hey, I'm successful, I'm good at this, like I'm good at my job, I know what I'm talking about. Oh, and by the way, like here's some houses that I've sold and here's some more stuff that I'm doing. Like that's what I've noticed is working because people are, they're more drawn to that. So
yeah, I love showing the crazy things you see at showings in your stories. This is something that I've done on the Broke Agent as a signature series, things we see at showings, hashtag, and it always gets enormous engagement. Anytime I want to kick off my story views with something, I either show a crazy text conversation or something crazy that an agent has seen at a showing. So great points there. Andy G. Tessa, what is working for you right now besides your dog swirling around in the background trying to find a place to nestle in that couch? By the way, I just got to say it's hilarious that a car hit a power pole outside of Dan's house and now he's off the show.
Yeah, I sort of feel like you may have hired a hitman driver to go and hit that pole, honestly.
Exactly. I called in an emergency. Go to Long Island right now. Go to this address and smash into the pole right now. Go ahead, Tessa.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what's working well for me right now? I think not from a content perspective first and foremost, but from just like a mindset perspective, it is really so interesting to see. I mean, we've seen so many ebbs and flows in how content performs over the years and algorithm changes. But like right now, I don't know if you're experiencing this, but like content I'll post will, do all right for the first day or so that it's posted. But then it's like weeks later that things are starting to really get that traction. And so for me, that's been just like a shift mindset wise, is knowing that what I'm putting out there, it's not going to have that immediate result that I'm more used to, and just kind of having that long-term mindset. And then from a content perspective, I think that just incorporating, humor. I mean, obviously, Eric, you've been doing that this whole time, but incorporating more humor and just personality in what you're doing. I think there's so many like content ideas that circulate, and the steal the reel, and there's all these different places that we can find inspiration for content, but it's taking that and really adding your own kind of like personal flair to it. An example of that is I have a post that'll go live, I think tomorrow. And I recently got my first hole-in-one while golfing, which is just a subtle flex. And I was going to post the front photo is, here's how to get a hole-in-one. And then the next photo is, I have no idea, but I can teach you about real estate. And so I think you can put like fun spins on ways that incorporate other things that make you who you are and elements of, your brand or your life. And then finding ways to like organically kind of integrate that, tie that back into real estate rather than just directly, here's this house, here's this property, here's this, and kind of being a little bit more fun and personable with it.
You've been golfing you golfed in high school, right? Or college?
Yes.
Okay. Is this your first hole-in-one?
It is my first hole-in-one, yeah.
Andy, do you have one? I still don't have one.
No, I've been a couple feet, but that's it.
Yeah. Par 3, obviously? Like how many yards? What course?
It was 176 yards, but it was like a pretty steep downhill. It was called Rancho Mañana here in Arizona. It was pretty
nice.
Cool. It was like,
Do you have any witnesses?
Yes, I have 2 witnesses. I've got the signed flag and everything.
Amazing. That must be the best feeling in the world.
Oh, I mean, it was unreal. It's so funny because I had like plenty of other things to do that day, and immediately my day was canceled after that.
Yeah, that is a celebratory thing where you call people, you call your parents, you call your friends. Like that is the ultimate goal in golf besides, breaking 90, 80, 70, whatever. Did you see it go in, or was it one of those elevated
it was like elevated and you could see it just like roll in. It was pretty epic.
Oh, that's awesome. I've had a couple where I think it goes in because it's like over a hill. And then when you get there, you look up and it's only a couple inches from the pin. Those are devastating.
Yeah.
But I like that. Here's how to get a hole-in-one. That's guaranteed click
Yeah.
and then swipe to real estate. That's a fantastic idea. What's working for me is email subject lines we're constantly tampering with. So I have a marketing newsletter called The Viral Agent. And for some reason, I am just doing, I'm not capitalizing every word like we do for our main BAM email. I'm lowercasing, so just capital on the first letter, and then lowercase, no emojis, way less text. And the open rate is like 65%. I don't know if that has to do with that, but if you're listening to this, you should tweak what you're doing. Sometimes you don't want to yell in emails or do all caps or do too many emojis. Constantly change your email subject lines. Do shorter sometimes, do longer, do all caps, do lowercase, and just kind of see what works.
I'm an all lowercase kind of gal, very informal.
You know, it kind of seems cooler. Like when you're texting with someone and it's all lowercase, you almost feel like that person has a little bit of power over you.
Yeah.
It's like the t-shirt jeans billionaire kind of vibe.
Exactly. Which almost feels forced at this point. You know, I feel like all billionaires now they all used to be suited, and now they're all going the t-shirt route. So it's like, I don't know. Let us know in the comments if you, man, I got nothing there. Like t-shirts. All right, here we go. Final topic right here. This is a hyper local reel that all agents can replicate. Andy G, she's pretty close to your area too. So this is something that you could possibly pull off about just what's going on traffic wise in her city on this weekend.
Up Greenville locals, if you were thinking about making your weekly Target trip today, you might want to reconsider because it is move-in weekend for ECU, so you need to be prepared for increased traffic all throughout town. And if you're here for move-in, check out a couple of walkable restaurants from campus like Chico's, Sup Dogs, or Nash Hot Chicken.
So that's it. I mean, super simple. I just think, you know, she's trend jacking the exact moment that's happening in Greenville that, you know, college, it's ECU, right, Andy?
Yep.
Is that East Carolina? So they're having move-in week. There's going to be increased traffic. Then she gives 3 restaurant recommendations. Just a super fun, easy reel that agents can make. That's just, you know, here's what's happening in the market right now. Right?
I love that.
Pretty good.
I love the text that she used on that, which is just a side note. I liked how it was like all bigger and smaller. Speaking of subject lines, we were just kind of talking about that. But I also noticed that she had kind of 2 reasons that reel itself was shareable, because people might share that with others that are in the area and say, oh, don't forget about this. Or, hey, we were, you know, me and my girls were planning on going to Target this weekend. Now we won't, kind of thing. But then it also shared some restaurants to check out. So that's another reason that people might send it to others, which, as we know, is a great thing on social media right now. So I thought that was clever that she had multiple shareable elements.
And we talk about trend jacking all the time. This is just trend jacking on the fact that it is college move-in week. Perfect.
I mean, when I watched that, I instantly thought about, like, for us, Uptown Charlotte is like our downtown, and it gets very congested around like Panthers games. Or a couple of weeks ago, we had the Colombia versus Uruguay game, and it was insane. And so just being able to run out there in the morning of one of those big events that's going on in Uptown, just to post something saying like, hey, be careful, like make sure that you know that it's going to be congested. Make sure you get out of work early if you can, like being a news source, because people will repost that.
And I feel like that content's just more fun to make too than housing market or inventory levels or something like that. Like Tessa, you're in Phoenix. You could be like, oh, you know, the D-backs are playing the Dodgers tonight, this Friday. This is who's pitching. I'm going to be at, you know, Cooperstown right across from the stadium. There's going to be increased traffic there. Where do you like to go before D-backs games? Just something super simple like that with some B-roll of Cooperstown. I used to go to a bunch of D-backs games.
I could tell.
Yes. So there you go, folks. That's an easy reel to replicate. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this episode. By the way, both of these 2 individuals will be at BAM Mania. Andy G and Tessa Bella will both be VIPs on October 17th. October 18th is the main day. Make sure you get your tickets, bammania.com, down below, for the best, most entertaining, value-packed real estate conference known to mankind. Of course, use code WALKTHROUGH, 10% off BAMX. And you got to follow Andy G. Andy G, shout out your Instagram handle. Let's get you to, what are you at right now?
I'm close to 19,000. I'd love to get over 20.
Let's get him over 20 here, huh? Let's get this video over 100 likes if we got you any value, and then let's get Andy G over 20. He's at 18,700 right now. So all 1,300 of you who watch this, go follow Andy G _realtor, and then of course you got to follow Tessa. Tessa, I'm trying to pull you up on my phone right now, but it appears that I am blocked, so I cannot do it.
You everywhere, actually.
Exactly. It is Tessa with 2 A's, Bella 2 L's, 2 A's. What?
Yes. Just my username. I hate it every time, but I've already committed,
700 posts, 52,000 followers, tons of interesting content for real estate agents. And she probably will be dropping that little hook idea. So if you need controversial hooks, make sure you go follow Tessabella. We'll see you guys at BAM Mania. Hopefully Danny Deals is okay. Hopefully that car isn't totaled that crashed into the electric pole that somehow cut him out of the episode. So thank you, everybody. And thank you, God, for doing this. All right, goodbye.